This is the deepest I've gone in myself, so it's probably the most controversial. Why is America, the West in general, so indulgent of Israel, so sensitive about anti Semitism? I read and listen Chomsky, and what the West will tell you is that, you see, we are we are the people of the greatest sympathy. We are the superior civilization. So this is a manifestation of our sympathy. Well, apparently this sympathy began in 1948. 2,000 previous years was just abject persecution of this rather magnificent people. Chomsky, a Jew, is maybe closest. He says, without much emphasis, it is natural in white colonial states, Canada, Australia, the USA. They see their own horrific sins and racisms in Israel's sins and behaviors. They champion Israel, therefore, and so champion their own claim to existence, statehood. Or, if you like, the United States has infinitely less right to exist than Israel, Canada, South America, Australia. Nations for me are artificial concepts. For me, Israel's right and claims to Palestine make sense to me when I allow that ancestral home means anything to me. I hear it, I understand it, I don't feel it. That's my honest take. I have a great feeling for England, but it seems more memory than spiritual. I watched a DVD about Armenia, a stunning film of a very beautiful part of the planet, but I was irritated by most of the people participating as they explained their sense of belonging. It seemed disingenuous. Most of them were Americans. Over the years, I have felt great connection to the Lake District in England, the Highlands of Scotland, and the mainland Greece. Does a Kenyan get a buzz visiting Stonehenge or Delphi? I think the Druids or the Greeks would say yes. They universalized their holy spots. Do we know if the ancient Brits or Greeks thought these holy places were only theirs? I'll not deny what others feel. I know feeling, and as I have lived long now, I feel more and more connection to various terra firmas. On a tangent, the Lakota claim to the Black Hills as sacred. The truth is, quote, this is a place of origin for dozens of native peoples and a revered landscape for more than 50 others, end quote. Do hear that. I believe the Lakota claimed it most recently from the Cheyenne. I don't know that the two tribes are at each other's throats over the real estate. Maybe they see sacredness differently. Something we might learn from them, but our creed is no one has anything to teach us. Another great what if of history. Exceptions to my belief, my feeling, the unimaginable trauma of the Holocaust, I do imagine would create huge need for place and ethnic identity and safety. For the colonial invaders of the last 500 years, none of this is true. Their spiritual connection is just arrogance and greed, which might be spiritual since we value them so. Arrogance and greed. A person has many emotional and psychological needs they will fill in their lives. This is the root of culture, I think. We invent stories and myths that we can reflect upon when the going gets rough and the power of myth is misunderstood. We all walk with them all the time. For me, the bad myths, the only bad myths, are the artificial ones and the exclusive exceptionalist ones. The exceptionalist ones are the worst. I'm probably wrong. The evidence is harder to find, but the myths that make us equal, or the tribe whose tribalism makes full humans of us, eager to encounter other tribes, otherness, other versions of our myth, perhaps the pagan idea that, oh, that is your god of the hunt, this is mine. They just have different names. How awesome, is the one I imagine. The great supremacist myth that inspired the colonization of Western and Southern hemispheres is toxic, it is evil. We've told ourselves several lies over the centuries to virtuize ourselves, we who are so keen on virtue. Quote, all men are created equal, for instance, which is a lovely ad campaign and true for me, but not for him who said it. And from here on, things get nasty. I think this is a context for Palestine. If ever vengeance were due, it is due the Jewish people. It is striking that the apparent Western sympathy and hand-wringing began after the creation of the State of Israel. Quite suddenly, the West, the Euro-Christian, appeared to take up the cause after 2,000 years of abject persecution, peaking in the Holocaust. The Nazi ethic was born in 1492, not 1933, and it's still here. It was given a fresh coat of whitewash during the US slavery years. Just imagine where we might be had there really been an American Revolution, had these founders had the genius and or the guts to repudiate Euro-Christian supremacy and really applied the truth of all men, women, races are created equal. They did not. And lip-sticking the pig ever since has enabled too many false myths for us to survive under the burden of. I think these are the realities we must confront, and we are not. I heard yesterday that Arizona and New Mexico were proposed as Israel wants, with respect due a homeland where a distinct people can exist in safety. This was a very good idea if the current inhabitants of Arizona and New Mexico, the inhabitants then, had said, okay, would these people have been asked, these residents of Arizona, or told? The Arabs of Palestine were not asked. It was a mandate. Look it up. I have to be rigorous with myself. I don't feel the pull of homeland, as I have said. That impulse or need is sated somehow in other ways, so I cannot say I understand it. Or I can say I understand it, but I don't feel it. I'm not seeking my own monoculture or theocracy. I don't have a binding tribal God, though many have been offered, but I respect the genuine need that clearly most of us have. At the same time, I don't believe that Americans understand the ancestral pull. If they did, they'd be in Scotland. I think they are assuaging an unconscious guilt and have vicariously lashed themselves to Israel dishonestly, happy that the Jews are in Israel and not in Arizona. We do not honor myths enough, so we are their victims. They are very, very strong, and because we don't acknowledge their power, have adopted eagerly the very shallow and undemanding and racist myth of Christianity. We have surrendered the inner resistance, the strength needed to keep myth honest. It is a characteristic of the monotheisms, this weakness, obvious in the words, God Almighty. Myth, like DNA, exists. Darkness is not evil, light is not good. Culture that acknowledges these yins and yangs, these fires and ice, these oppositions will grow strong and engage with myth and ride her, not controlling nor being controlled by her. It is the human possibility. All the rest is propaganda.